Hello and welcome to this week's Roundup by blockchaingamer.biz. Make sure you check out all of our news at blockchaingamer.biz and follow us on Twitter at BCGBiz to stay up to date on all the latest, most relevant news in blockchain gaming. Today is Friday the 15th of December, and as usual, I am Jenny Jordan, and with me is co-host John Jordan. Hi John, how are you doing?
Good. Yes. We're racing towards the big day. Everyone's very excited.
Yeah, indeed, yes. My children reminds me every morning. 10 days left now, 10 days. Right. It doesn't seem like the Web3 gaming space is slowing down and getting ready for Christmas.
No.
Been loads of news. We had a not insignificant investment into the industry this week. We've had a few games reaching new milestones in terms of downloads and users. NFL Rivals has just hit 4 million. It seems anyway, according to CEO John Linden's Twitter. Chronicles has broken 1 million registered users. My neighbor Alice has migrated to the Chromia app net, not the main net just yet, from previously being on B&B. Ultra has revealed an exclusive first-person shooter, Citadel project. I'm not sure if the project is sort of part of the title, if it's just called Citadel. Mojo Melee has finally launched their season Frozen Fate and their Mod-able Mojos, where you can customize your Mojo NFTs. Engine has completed their migration of NFTs from Ethereum to the Polkadot chain, and BDA has launched its State of the Industry 2023 report. Right. First off, though, Mojo Melee, you have got a few, haven't you? You've played the game fairly regularly. You have got the new Battle Pass.
Yep.
Tell us a bit more.
I think it's the third season I've bought a Battle Pass, I'm pretty sure. I've only completed one of them, so I have to do better this time. So yes, as you say, this is slightly delayed. This is their Frozen. Is it Frozen Fate or Frozen Fates? Not quite sure. But basically, snow themed winter wonderland. So obviously the battleground is now all snowy, and the Mojo there isn't now the sort of launch of these what they're calling Mod-able Mojos. So basically, the Mojos are the sort of key characters, and they're sort of like the heroes, I suppose. You have one when you do a battle. It's an auto chess battle. You have one Mojo. There's 4 different types, and obviously have their own attributes. And then you have 4 what they call champions, which are sort of your minions. But the Mojo is sort of the main character, and they're sort of building out more around the game. They're building out sort of the Mojos as the signature characters, which they've always been, but now they're sort of building more sort of utility into them, sort of external to the game or external to the gameplay elements. So they're quite cute little characters. We've sort of mentioned that before. That I think they're sort of quite well designed, and they have the ability to. You can imagine them as little figurines or plushies or the sort of thing that people are doing these days. They are. I think they are well designed. So the moddable bit is you basically have the underlying sort of character, and now you can start sort of customizing them with the first one you get is like a snowman sort of costume.
Yeah.
So everyone gets one for free. They are NFTs. I think it was available. I think you got them through the Amazon Prime
gaming,
drop, I think so. But they say everyone who plays the game will get one of these. So it's basic snowman. You can put little gloves on him and stuff, and blah blah blah. And obviously, as you play the game more, as different seasons start, you'll get more and more sort of skins to customize them with. And there is in the new season it's actually a bit expensive. I think I can't remember if it's $15 or $25. You could buy like 4 little suits, like winter suits for them and stuff like that. So we'll see how much people are into that sort of stuff. But I think it's just something more for the future that as you play the game and get prizes and unlock stuff, you'll get, more of these little, I'm sure obviously in the summer it'll be, surfboards and, whatever, Hawaiian shirts. So it's just, it's just a nice little feature, which is not to do with the game, but you can sort of see where they're, where lots of brands, Pudgy Penguins, I guess, are leading the way on this, although they're not a gaming NFT, although they're sort of now moving into games. Everyone's sort of doing, sort of from their own different sort of viewpoint, sort of doing the same sort of things. They have a core game that people can play. They unlock stuff in the game that makes it a bit more of a sort of social, customizable, and, avatar-y type thing, and you can do some other entertainment stuff with that. So
yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah, and talking of customizing characters, actually, I started playing the alpha season 4, I think it is, of My Neighbor Alice, and that's really captured my children's attention. Actually, the customization.
Yes,
I've not come very far. I've done that and walked around a little bit, exploring the world, the Lumelunda. Done some fishing.
Say that again backwards.
Pardon?
Say that again backwards.
Yeah. No, it reminds me, Lumelunda, it reminds me of the famous Swedish children's author Astrid Lindgren, and her sort of names of worlds and villages and stuff in her stories. And
they are Swedish.
The developer is Swedish, so yeah. I would assume there's some inspiration from there.
Yeah, we sort of dipped into it last night. Yeah, it's sort of, we can. I mean, that's funny because that game's been around for a long, long time. I think, sort of 2020. So they've. I've not played it before, so it's interesting. And it did have that definite Animal Crossing vibe. That's sort of what they're going for. Not quite as well honed, obviously, as a Nintendo product. But one of our sons was playing the fishing game, and we sort of had to sort it all out. And you can sort of see, it's sort of nice. It was a better experience than I thought it was going to be. So I guess we'll see as they go from alpha into sort of fully being released.
Yeah, that's always the thing, isn't it? You're reminded of the early stage still with the hiccups. So you get stuck somewhere and whatnot. But nice sort of gentle first experience.
And I think, the other thing with those games is for it to work, the social aspect is what works. The game sort of gives you stuff to do. There's a little task, you can do fishing and farming, and that's sort of fine. That gives you the sort of things to do second by second. But for those games to work, the sort of social bit of what players are doing and trading and coming together, that's sort of really what has to work. And that's quite, that is sort of hard to do because you can build the features that enable that, but it's a little bit dependent on obviously how many players you get and what those players actually do in the game. So that will be, the real sort of crucial thing for them.
Yeah. Another game that you have been playing a lot is Nine Chronicles M since the launch 22nd of November on mobile. And yesterday we had an article highlighting their success. They've reached over 1 million users across both Nine Chronicles, the PC based version, and the Nine Chronicles M. And they've
remember, it's a bit more complicated than that. So what we thought, the M doesn't stand for mobile. Because what they did was they had
mobile and PC.
They basically have now two versions of the game. There's Nine Chronicles, the original one, which originally was on PC, but now you can play on mobile as well. And then Nine Chronicles M, which is the new version, which is also playable on PC and mobile, but on a different blockchain, and the two are not compatible. So there's a score.
No, it's a sort of project, you can't rush through it and explain it in a quick way. You have to go.
No.
I feel like you always have to go into details. Yeah.
And it is, and the 1 million users, obviously, people tend to go for big numbers, but that game's been out for a long time, and so that number I think is a bit flabby, because just probably a whole bunch of those were from 3 years ago and not playing the game now. So the interesting thing was they said 115 million monthly users, which again is not
150,000.
115,000. That was I said. So that's more interesting. Again, that's not a massive number because that's monthlies, not dailies. But what was interesting was that radar showing the daily figures for the original Nine Chronicles at about 35,000, but they haven't been tracking Nine Chronicles M, which is a totally sort of forked blockchain, a different blockchain. So we haven't seen the numbers from the mobile, as I'm saying it now, from the new version. But we can get an idea from the monthly ones that basically the release of Nine Chronicles M has been pretty good. So it's up 85% in terms of monthlies. They've done 250,000 downloads through the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. So you can sort of get an idea now that, they've had a few hundreds of thousands of people probably playing it on mobile, even though you can play it on PC. It is a bit fiddly to set up, so I doubt many people are playing on both. I imagine most people are just playing on mobile, which is sort of restricted in terms of the blockchain stuff. I've been playing obsessively across both, but sort of that's what you'd expect, I guess, from someone in the blockchain game space. I don't think most people are doing that. But 115,000, it is a sort of game that you don't have to play every day. It is a sort of an idle game, so it could be sort of a game that people are playing, sort of dipping into sort of once a week. The main thing to play at the moment is the arena, so that is sort of think you get your tickets refresh every sort of 12 hours or so. So that's sort of the cycle you have if you're really into the game. But it's good. I think it's a good sign. I think it's often the problem is sometimes we say everything's either a massive success or a total failure. And I see this one as being a sort of at the current point, a minor success. I don't think this game is going to have 1 million MAUs because it's just it's not. I think the blockchain stuff is a little bit hidden away for the blockchain people, and if you're just playing the non-blockchain version, it's probably not quite compelling enough. But we'll see. They're giving away quite a lot of tokens. I can't remember if it could be making this up now. It's either $1 million or 1 million tokens in the arena at the moment, and I think there's a few days left on that. So the one thing it does do quite well is if you're playing the game, it does gift you with tokens in a way that you can't easily just sell them off. You sort of have to use them in the game. So I think they've been around. Planetarium games have been around for a while. They've raised like $30 million. They sort of, as much as anyone does, they sort of know what they're doing. So I think I'd like to see the game obviously grow because I'm really into it. So I think it will sort of grow steadily, but I'd be surprised if it's going to be like a massive breakout hit, I guess. Definitely worth trying it out if you're just downloading it from the App Store. You don't need the wallet stuff. It's all sort of, you don't need to really get into that. The blockchain stuff is actually quite complicated in terms of how the private keys and everything works. So it's not ideal, but most people won't need to know about that.
Now, in terms of PC blockchain gaming store and platform Ultra,
you should change your hat now.
Announced. Say that again.
You change your hat now.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh no, I can't. Not now.
Can't be bothered.
Next week. I wear it next week. Yes, they've announced a first-person shooter Web3 title. Have you had a chance to have a look at that?
Yes.
At all?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, so so this is interesting in the sense that it is I think it's the first exclusive title they've had. So generally, Ultra is just like one way you think about it is like a Steam or an Epic Game Store for Web 2 games and Web 3 games. They also announced this week their first tradable game. So it's a Web 2 game, $15. You can buy it and then you can resell it. So that's obviously sort of experimental.
Funny choice, actually, the first title they had. I thought I looked at it like a very sort of quirky little.
Yeah, very quirky little indie sort of beat 'em up. It's fine. I mean, you don't want to.
Journey.
It's just an experiment, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So it's the sort of steaming ahead on Ultra. But this is the first exclusive game. We don't quite know on what level it's been built because Ultra is its own blockchain. So you could build quite a complex blockchain-based game, like totally running on Ultra. Almost you could do a fully on-chain game. I don't think that is what this game is. I imagine there'll be NFTs. It probably use the Ultra token, or it may use its own token. I don't know. But sort of good because I think Ultra has sort of had a sort of PR problem in the sense that there's no big games on it, and the sort of the better known games that are on it are quite old. So there's no real reason to go in and buy games on Ultra because you can get them on Steam. You probably already have if you're into those games. So this is sort of good that it can drive some PR around this title, which does look okay. There's only a tiny sort of sneak peek, sort of 10 seconds. I'm probably reading a bit too much into it. It gave me some sort of Halo sort of vibes a little bit. That may be because some of the people who on this game worked on Halo, but it's very hard to get an impression because it's just a few tens of seconds of sort of footage. So we'll sort of see. We don't really have any idea. Is it like let's say it's sort of like it's a sort of sci-fi setting, I would say, with a bit of sort of fantasy elements in there as well. Combat looked pretty sort of straightforward in terms of the sort of the gunplay, but we don't really know. Is it multiplayer? Is it single player? How the different modes? Is it more like a open world sort of shooter? Blah blah blah. So a lot to find out about that game. But I think it generally, clearly good for Ultra to have something it can sort of hang its coat on as a there's a really interesting blockchain game. You can only get it from Ultra. Sign up. So, I mean, that's what they need.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, they've definitely been on a roll this year with the launch of the Ultra Store and platform and Arena, and yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing, as you say, the Arena is there. I should mention, Arena is their sort of esports tournament part of the platform, and they can plug in any game. So at the moment they're sort of doing tournaments for Valorant and all the usual Web 2 games that everyone sort of plays. But obviously you can do a lot more if you've got a blockchain game that's developed exactly for on your platform, on your blockchain. Give away sort of rewards of the games. You can, I mean, it is difficult. Not all games fit well into esports, so there is that sort of problem there. But you can sort of just see, it's a good example for them to really show what the platform can do, which I think up to this point they've sort of struggled to sort of really highlight what they've built.
Yeah. So, and probably I would say the biggest investment of the year in Web3 gaming, one sort of standalone investment anyway, was announced this week with Line Next, which is US-based Web3 arm of Line, social social. What would you call it?
Social platform.
It's app, isn't it? Yeah. They raised 140 million for their mobile games platform, Game DOSI, which is also developing its own games, as well as looking to release like third-party games, as far as I understand. Yes, so tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Yeah, quite surprised, really. So some pick a little bit. So Line is one of the sort of big mobile messaging sort of services. I guess it's a bit bigger now. You'd see it as a social network. It is global. Line is based in South Korea, but for sort of weird historical reasons, Line is biggest in Japan. So Line. So if you're in Japan, they didn't use Facebook, or I mean, obviously some people do, but generally, Line is sort of as far as I know, the biggest or one of the big sort of social networks that everyone's using on their phone. So, you got sort of Line, WeChat, Kakao, the usual sort of suspects that we all sort of know and love or not. So that's Line. Line Next is sort of their blockchain focused subsidiary based in the US, and that's been building up this DOSI. It's not DOSI, is it? Well, it is. I mean, that's how you pronounce it.
It's DOSI.
DOSI's not great.
I don't know if that's how you say it.
DOSI. I mean, DOSI means a bit sleepy in English. But anyway, so they've been building out this as a browser platform. I'm not an expert, but I've had a look through it. It is quite complex. So there is lots of different elements, and it's more than the gaming platform. So Line is obviously a social network thing where people are buying stickers and playing games and all that sort of stuff. So there is that sort of entertainment type element to it, and that's what they're trying to rebuild. So there's this thing called Citizen DOSI, and that sort of cute little characters, and they do airdrops and sort of do challenges to earn these little characters. That's not really games so much as sort of social avatar type stuff. Then they have DOSI Gaming, which is the gaming platform. That's very underdeveloped at the moment. There's only 4 titles in there. They have done some NFT drops, sort of like it's sort of like passes at the moment. So if you buy one of those NFTs, you get access to all the other stuff that's coming down the line. But that's sort of, say, quite early. And there's a whole bunch of other things they're sort of doing around that sort of thing. They have an NFT platform just in Japan at the moment. So they've been selling NFTs through that, but that's just in Japan. And so they're trying to bring all these things together now and launch a DOSI app. So in January, that's coming out through the app stores, which is why they've done this announcement that now the money probably was raised ages ago. So the app's going to come out. You can download it, and you'll probably get all these, get access to all these features and parts of the platform doing that app. Previously, you've had to go to different websites, so it's been a bit fragmented. They run on their own blockchain, which is called Finchia. Yeah, you're the expert on that. So it was called something else. I can't remember, but they renamed it to Finchia. That's what they're running on. And yeah, so in terms of this, I think you're right. It is the largest investment into large investment this year into the sector. And it's interesting. It's not from sort of VC investors. It's from a company called Crescendo, who is a South Korean company, and they're private equity, which is, which sort of means they are. They tend to be some of these large institutional investors who aren't sort of investing to go through different rounds. They sort of invest large amounts of money on a strategic level at sort of a latter stage. Because obviously Line isn't a startup, so they tend to invest larger chunks of money on sort of quite big bets. And it seems like what they're betting is basically with Line Next, Line can take some of its existing sort of platform, and obviously people are spending hundreds of millions of dollars buying things, non-blockchain things, through Line, and have been for the last 2 decades. And if they can take some of that stuff onto Line Next, then they're sort of like bridging the Web 2, Web 3 thing, which is everyone's trying to do at the moment. So the idea for the DOSI is a whole bunch of stuff will be NFTs, a whole bunch of stuff probably won't be NFTs, but they'll sort of be able to sort of bring the millions of people, hundreds of millions of people using Line sort of into this sort of DOSI network. So that's the sort of the bet that they're doing. That's why they're giving them this money. I think mainly, obviously, for that sort of situation, a lot of that will probably be marketing. I think a lot of the stuff's built out already, because clearly they're launching this thing in January, so it's not like they need the money to hire some more people to get it done in January. That doesn't work. So yeah, quite how I guess the interesting thing, I guess they'll be more focused on sort of Japan and Asian markets than maybe Western markets. I would sort of think, but we'll sort of have to wait and see. I mean, I'm sort of looking forward to it. I mean, and again, it's just another big step by these the South Korean sort of games companies, social companies are really doubling down sort of on blockchain. Whether, as I said before, I'm not quite sure their strategy is the strategy I would follow in every case, but they're all sort of trying their own different things. So that's sort of very interesting to see.
Yeah, seems like, I mean, it's really building, isn't it? What's the big things that's going to come in the next year, sort of thing, with launches and project developments and
And it's obviously to point out, I mean, it's slightly it's dissimilar in some ways, but probably in terms of like token pricing, the Wemix has just has just done phenomenally well in terms of the pricing of its token, and I mean, you know better than me how many games they've got out. They wanted 100 games out. I don't think they got that many, but they've got over 50, 60 probably games out on their sort of platform. Most of them are clearly not really found product market fit, but you've been playing some of them more recently, and you can sort of see, in a sense, if these companies sort of have enough money to sort of spend on it and believe in it enough, they eventually get sort of something to work. So they go through these sort of harder times where they're trying to find out what does work for their audience, and then they keep trying hard enough that often they sort of find out what they didn't know at the beginning, and then they start doing that, and it can work be very successful.
Yeah, they find that sort of generally there are more companies, South Korean companies, that were already making games, and then they've just adopted blockchain into their titles, or they might have had a couple of games in the luggage sort of, and then venture into Web3, compared to new studios that start with the one intention of getting that AAA shooter or whatnot, sort of Web3, the big, how kind of Western developers are working more. Yeah. Right. What else have we got? We've got the excuse me. Got the BGA report of the blockchain gaming industry in 2023. Talk us through that.
So I think it's the third year they've done it. So the BGA is the Blockchain Game Alliance, has about 500 members. Is that right? Yeah, 500 members. It's split between sort of companies and individuals. So a lot of the the companies that we sort of talk about are part of the BGA. They generally do there's sort of a sort of business grouping, so they do a lot of stuff at sort of conferences and sort of meetups and that sort of thing. But this survey, as I say, they just sort of send out a form and people sort of fill it in. So you're never quite sure with these sort of surveys whether people are truthful or not. I suppose sometimes just be a little bit careful with the with the results. There wasn't anything sort of really that jumped out at me, to be honest. Obviously, 2023 for most companies has not been a great year, so they didn't really ask questions about sentiment or have you fired people this year, sort of thing.
No.
But obviously, in general, we just know the year's ended well, but most of the year's been pretty rough for a lot of companies. So it didn't really reflect that. Maybe that's not sort of part of their politics. There was a couple of things. One thing that I did think was interesting, I can't remember the figures, unfortunately, but it did ask people if they were paid in crypto. And I think it was something like 18% of people were entirely paid in crypto, which is sort of quite a lot. And then I think there was something like 40% were some of their sort of salary or services were paid in crypto. And And I guess that sort of goes to show, obviously people in the blockchain game space are going to be pretty committed to crypto, I suppose. So, but for me, that was sort of a fairly high number. I was, not massively surprised, but interesting that the people who are still in the space are pretty committed to it in the sense of getting their, some of their the money they need to live on is paid in the thing that they're working on. So that was interesting. Yeah.
Well, we're going to run off now. I guess it comes as no surprise that we're both very into numbers and we like our spreadsheets. And you have been talking to Game 7. You didn't do the interview this week, but we published the interview this week with George. Yep. Ishiros? Is that how you say it?
Ishiros, yeah.
Ishiros. Sorry. Yes, about the state of Web3 gaming. Report. Similar name actually to the BBA. Oh, anyway. So you really, I really recommend that podcast. I learned a lot from it. Go into a lot of the graphs and the data on, the state of Web3 gaming, but not just in 2023. It goes back all the way to 2018.
2017, I think, some graphs,
2017 even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a... Although I sort of maybe have to apologise to George a little bit. Going back and going through the transcription, I realised I probably do more talking than him, which is not really ideal. But
I did notice as well. I didn't shut up and let him talk.
He did sort of know that we had met up beforehand. So he it's sort of interesting from the. He'd done this big data project. Obviously, we do our sort of the big blockchain list, and so it was quite nice from that point of view. To me, I found it quite enjoyable. It being more of a sort of a conversation rather than me asking questions and people talking, which is what most of the podcasts
maybe you
are.
Need to bring him back again.
But I probably was a little bit overly talkative. I did sort of feel that, so apologies. But no, I think it's a good starting point. I mean, it's a bit long, sort of 50 minutes long. But it's a lot of the sort of key graphs that sort of highlight really, as you say, the changes that have happened over the last sort of 5 years, which is sort of that's how you get the trends.
Good. Right. On that note, we are going to finish off, and we want to thank you for listening. We will see you all next week with only 3 days left.
Oh dear.
Right.
Christmas hats next week. Excellent.
Oh yes, good. And have some mulled wine in our cups, shall we? Bye-bye.
Bye.